Out of this world, and I ain't going through all that. We're gonna skip a little bit, and I'll let her tell the rest if she wants. She was licensed as a minister in March 2001, and she was ordained as an elder in November 2005 through Faithway United Ministries. In January 2013, she and her husband, help me out with his name. Go ahead, say it. Jao. Moniz. My Lord. Moniz was ordained as pastors, both of them. That was in 2013. She has earned her bachelor's degree, her master's of arts in alternate dispute resolution. She has also earned her doctor's in law.
Wow.
She is actively involved in women ministry leadership since 1994. She's a co-founder of Beauty, Purpose, and Destiny Ministry located in Detroit, Michigan. She is an anointed teacher, preacher, singer. But her first ministry is to her husband of 11 years.
Amen.
And parenting and house schooling their two children, Nigla, age 8, and Israel, age 5. We present to you Pastor Stacy Moniz.
Amen. Praise the Lord. I thank God so much for his blessings and give honor to God, who is definitely the head of my life.
Yes.
And I also give honor to my husband in his absence. He is my first ministry, as well as our two beautiful children. And then I also want to give honor to the bishop of this house. Amen. Thank you so much for having this forum. And then I want to commend my friend Jennifer. There are some people that when they hear the word cancer, they just lay on down and crawl up under the covers and say, that's it. I'll see you whenever they tell me I'm done with the 5 years free. But for you to yet plan this and to yet stay faithful, I want to commend you, and I think this is excellent. And I think we need to just get that. Of no surprise to me that God healed you just in time for this. It's no surprise because he saw your faithfulness. And I like the title that she gave me, Boaz or Bozo, and I cracked up laughing when I heard it. But aside from it being funny, it is reality. And a lot of people are living the reality with Bozo. In Puerto Rico, they have a saying about a guy named Juan Bobo. And my husband always tells this story that his grandfather told him about Juan Bobo. And Juan Bobo is basically Jimmy the Dummy. And Juan Bobo just does stupid things. And there are a lot of us who have hooked up right in church with Juan Bobo. And then we want to run to the preacher and say, well, it's your fault because you should have seen it. When in fact, long before you got before the preacher, long before you walked down the aisle, long before you went to President Tuxedo and got your tux, long before you went and got a wedding dress, there were some things that were in you that looked just like Juan Bobo. You saw him in the mirror. You saw him and you chose to ignore him. You saw him sitting across the table from you at dinner, feeding you a line, and you decided to overlook it. You saw it, your mama told you she saw it, and you told her, no, ma, it ain't like that. Mommy, you don't know. Yeah. And so instead of getting Boaz, instead of having a kinsman redeemer, you got Juan Bobo. Well, you got Jimmy the Dummy. But there's a way to keep away from that. There's a way to keep away from that. I do not present myself as an expert at all in being single, although I probably have a license in one, because I was single until I was 29. That's right. I met my husband right before my 30th birthday. And when we met, our first conversation on the phone was 3 hours. And I was like, what in the world? Who talks on the phone for 3 hours? And within 2 weeks, I said, well, I need to have a talk with you. I don't really think it's going to work out. You seem so nice. But I have been saying this speech a long time. You seem so nice, but I really don't think this is going to work. And unlike the other Bobos who had come before him, he looked at me, and I didn't know then that he was fighting tears. He told me after. But he looked at me and he said, well, that's fine if you feel that way. He said, but I just want to be your friend. So I said, okay, you can be my friend. I got in the car and I just wanted to kick myself. I was like, that was the one. I called my girlfriend. I was like, I don't know what my problem is. And I drove on down the street. But God being God, had this man keep calling. He kept calling. Let's go get some coffee. Let's go get something to eat. About 2 weeks later, he says to me, I think I need to have a conversation with your dad. We were on 96, just past Joy. And I almost jumped out the car. I said, excuse me. I mean, we were on 96, we were on the Southfield. I said, excuse me. He said, I need to talk to your dad. I said, what do you need to talk to my daddy about? He says, because I need to ask his permission to date you.
You see that?
Now, here's the blessing in that. I had always said to a very discreet number of people that I'll know that it's the one because he will have the sense enough to ask to date me.
Yeah.
My friends from the time I was 18 on laughed me out the box. They were like, girl, bye. Ain't nobody gonna ask to date you in this day and time. And I was particular about who I told because I didn't want nobody to run and tell somebody and then one Bobo show up and say, you know, girl, let me ask your daddy. But I say all that to say, just when you think no one is coming along, and he happened to be my first boyfriend, so to speak. So I had a good degree in being single because I was single for 30 years, and I wasn't single mingling either, and I'm not trying to throw shade to anybody who that's your testimony. It's just that this is mine. I wasn't out there turning it up or turning it out. And so when he came along, you know, I was real good at saying bye. No, I come with any reason. You ain't open the door. No more dates for you. You know, didn't smell right. Don't like that cologne. Nope. Bye. You know, my little face crooked. Nope. So it's real good at saying goodbye. Real good at giving a nice no. You know, nice nasty, sweet no. But when he came, it was undeniable. And so I say all that to say, when God sends your kinsman redeemer, it will be undeniable. And not only will you know, but those who have advised you your entire life will affirm it. And they won't affirm it based off of what you have said. My parents weren't looking to hear what I had to say. They wanted to have conversations with him by themselves. My brothers could care less what I had to say because I'd had two sisters who got married before me and it wasn't real cute to them. And so they were like, well, we seen how their marriages went. We're not playing with you. And so they had conversations with him by themselves. And he had to man up for himself.
Yeah.
He had to show himself. And then not only that, they were like, invite the whole family over. Let's meet them all. Like we want to know, were you born a male? You know, did you come outside? All the questions that in this day and age you better ask. Because they didn't want me hooked up with the bozos. And so when the one comes along, if those who are closest to you, who have nurtured you, who have loved you, who have prayed on you, who have preached to you, tell you, I think you better wait. Please don't be dumb. Do not go home and think you are Sally Cute and not Juan Bobo and say, I'm going to do it anyway. Because God has placed them there on purpose. And so here now we have Boaz. And the wonderful thing about Ruth is she had Naomi. Someone who really had her best interest at heart. And so here's Boaz. Now everybody looks at Boaz and they think, oh, such a unique little name, kind of like Jow, you know, just unique. But Boaz, even though he didn't have a whole lot to say, Ruth is only 4 chapters long. But in that little teeny little rubber book that you could cross over, you could just go from Judges to 1 Samuel and skip it. He had a lot to say. There was a lot about Boaz. He was a man of standing. He was a godly man. He greeted his employees, talking about the Lord. He started out, go look for yourself. He greeted them talking about the Lord. He was a successful and shrewd businessman, and so consequently, he was a wealthy landowner. There's some things I want you to get here, because the bishop already told you, get your finances in order, which means you're not going to be looking for somebody working at the gas station. No shade on gas station attendants. I'm just saying, unless that gas station attendant has a really plump 401k, that's not the one you're looking for. That's right. It's not. On top of that, if you are a woman, you shouldn't be looking anyway. You have but one job. I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit. You have but one job, and one job only. And that job is to just simply stay hid. Because if you stay out in the open, you become common. Men don't like common ladies. They don't want common. They could get any girl they want. They don't want common. They want unique. They want something they got to work for, because they were born and innately made to work for it. But if you just handing it out and laying it out, you just another loaf of white bread. Just another loaf. Just another loaf. You just 99 cents. You can get you at the dollar store. And so here he was, a wealthy landowner. We also see him as being a protector, because as soon as he saw Ruth, he knew she don't even belong out here. She don't belong out here. And so he told his men, watch her. Don't let nobody get her. Don't let nobody pull her in the corner. Watch her. He was responsible. And then he was a man of integrity. And he was a true kinsman redeemer, because he was willing to lay aside his desires to get at this woman for making sure that things went in the proper order. He knew there was a kinsman redeemer who had priority over him, who had say over him. And then on top of all of that, after she went, and I know some of us read that and we think, was she a thought? Why did she, I know y'all, young people, y'all know what thought is. Why did she go and lay at his feet? Why did she go and lay at his feet? And I know the older people now are like, what is a thought? It's not a real good term, but the young people using it, it basically means that hussy over there, for lack of a better word. And so they look and you read the word and you see she laid at his feet, all up in the meal, and had a cover. And instantly you like, oh my God. Well, what she did was not romantic or sexual at all. In fact about it, it was respectful. Because in that time, what would happen is that the employees, the servants, would see to the owner, would see to the person who was in charge, and not see to them in the sense that we think of today, but see to them in the sense of, are you warm enough? Are you covered while you're resting? Are you comfortable? And so Naomi had told her, you go and you lay your cloak and you cover his feet. Make sure his feet is warm. That's all it was about. There was nothing sexual in nature at all. However, he was smart enough, Boaz was smart enough, that he knew that there were other people that, even though that was the custom, they abused the custom. And so there were those women who really wrecked the sheep. Who used the sheep. And so he told her, I don't want anybody to think that anything has happened here. So he got up early and he said, here, I'm going to fill this sack, you going home. Because I don't want anybody to walk in here and say, now why is she on the threshing floor with the owner? Because he knew that people were taking it out of context. So that's Boaz. Now here's Bozo, or Wanda. He has a lot of potential. She has so much potential. Mama, one day, this girl gonna be something, Mama. She gonna, you telling your mama, you just lay it on thick, Mama, she gonna be something. I can see her being the mother of my kids. She got potential, Mama. One day she could be just like you. Bobos have a whole lot of potential, but they are not yet walking in anything. They are inconsistent, emotionally unstable, and financially jacked up. I don't care if they're working the nicest job in the plushest law firm there is. When you ask to look at their checkbook, it's a wreck. They have so many credit cards and owe so many people. Who cares that they have a black card when they have maxed it out? Yes, they're driving the nice car. Yes, they're carrying around the coach. Yes, they're living in a nice house. And they can't afford to eat a hamburger. That is not the person that you want. They're insecure, a little bit shady, can't be accountable for where they've been or who they were talking to. Everybody of the opposite sex is just their friend. And they will not take responsibility for anything. Well, and then you have Ruth. Now, everybody's sitting here and they're thinking, well, I'm a good person. I'm good, I'm single, I'm a nice person. I have so much to offer. And yet, I got some things I'm not too proud of. Well, Ruth has some things in her life she wasn't too proud of. Ruth was a Moabitess, which meant she was from the lineage of Moab, which if you go all the way back, Moab, although he was a cousin to Israel, was also the son of Lot, who was the nephew of Abraham, but he was the son of Lot by way of an incestuous relationship with his daughter. So she didn't come from a whole lot of good. In fact, the Moabites were considered pagan. Basically, they ain't church. They don't go to church. They don't go to church. But she married into a church family. And then she didn't just marry into it, but she turned around and she told Ruth, well, whoever your God is, whoever you serve, that's what I'm serving. Whatever church you go to, girl, I'm going to your church. I'm a fast when you fast. I'm a pray when you pray. However you do it, you wearing the skirt, I'm wearing the skirt. You carrying your Bible, I'm carrying my Bible. That's how she rolled with it. And so she affirmed her commitment to God. She showed that, hey, I'm going to do things differently. Despite what my lineage says, I'm going to do things differently. And God hooked her up with the perfect guy. Because if you know about Boaz, his background, even though he's mentioned in the lineage of Jesus, was not that great either. His mom was a prostitute.
That's right.
That's how she met his daddy. Because his daddy was one of the spies that she helped to hide. So he was already prepared to know that God could change the direction and the path of your life when you have an encounter with him and when you decide, I'm going to serve you anyway. When you decide, I'm going to change and I'm going to commit to you, God, then God will redirect you to what he already preordained you to walk into. And Boaz knew this because he saw his mother be changed. And so despite her background, Ruth became an example through this story of how God can totally change the direction of your life. So now what about you? You're sitting here and you've heard all this great news. You've heard the story of being widowed. You've heard the story of going through terrible divorce. You've heard the story of being a single parent. You've heard the story of being single, saved, and happy. And you might be saying, that's great and that's good, but I don't feel all that happy right now. There were moments when I was single, when I really cried out to the Lord. And I could not understand. I was like, I know I ain't that ugly. Like, I don't require a bag over my head. Like, Jesus, like, you know, and I always been a little thick. I'm like, I know I'm a big girl, but somebody got like a big girl, like Jesus. And I didn't get it. And then, you know, it seemed like the more education I got, the dumber the men got. And I was like, God, is there anybody? But one thing that I found is that the more that I focused on him and not on trying to find someone, the more I became at peace. And just when I decided, it's so funny you mentioned the lady getting married to herself, because I decided, I ain't waiting on no man to buy me no ring. I'm not going to do it. I have sat here, I see all my friends, can't wait for somebody to buy them a ring, so I went to the store. I said, Mama, come on. I went to the store, found myself a sapphire, which is my birthstone. I said, I can buy my own ring. I'm not gonna sit around waiting on a man to buy no ring. I'm buying my own ring. And so I felt like, you know, and I wasn't buying it to engage myself. I just bought it to prove like everybody can have a nice ring.
Right.
And I had my little ring, but soon as I got settled, like I'm good. If he come, he come. If he don't, oh well. Then that is when God released him to find me. He really, and I wasn't hanging out there. In fact, about it, his mother, and I know she wonders to this day, why? But she was just being used to the Lord. We worked together. I had just started this position, and she sat in the office next to me. And she kept talking about this son of hers, but she kept showing me pictures of the other son who was married. I didn't understand that. I said, this lady keeps showing me these pictures of this married child, but keep talking about the single child. So I called my girlfriend in Missouri and I said, here we go, another mother trying to put off her son. And little did I know that God had us waiting for each other. Total perfect match. Complete opposites, and yet we fit like a glove. But the key was we both had our focus on God. We both had our focus on what can I do to just have my life together, to just get it right before you. What can I do to make sure I'm the total package? And so you have to look at yourself and you have to say to yourself, yes, I want a Boaz. Yes, I want a Ruth. But what am I bringing to the table? Because it's not fair for you to get all their good and you give all your nothing. It's not fair. And it's not going to work. Somebody's going to realize they got the short end of the stick and they're going to be very angry about it. What do you really have to offer to a marital relationship? Are you loving? Are you willing to sacrifice for somebody else's love language, or is it only about yours? Is it only about your need to be affirmed? Is it only about your need to have a back rub? Or are you willing that even if this person gets sick, I will mop up their throw up and I will clean their behinds? Are you willing to do that? Because if when you say I do, you can't look at that person and say, I would be willing to wipe you from head to toe if necessary, then you should not be getting married. You are not ready for the marriage relationship. Are you developed? Or are you like the commercial with Pinocchio? You have potential. You have potential. Are you hiding behind the mask of sanctification when you are full of demons? You got to check yourself. You got to be willing to take the mask off. You cannot expect royalty when you're living and behaving below your own privilege. You've got to get yourself together spiritually, emotionally, and financially. And if you have physical ailments, try to whip those in shape too. You're going to need some energy for marriage. And I'm not just talking about the bedroom. You're going to need some energy for marriage.
Yeah.
When the children come, husband or wife, you're going to need some energy for marriage. You're going to need some energy to get up, to do those feedings at 2, 3, and 4 o'clock in the morning. You're going to need to not just roll over and snore and be like, baby, you nursing, right? No, you're going to need to sit up. Do you need me to get you anything? Do you need some milk, some juice? Because I know you're nursing this baby. You're going to need some energy for marriage. So instead of wasting your single years lamenting the fact that you are single, begin preparing yourself and making sure you're developed. Operate in the flow of the ministry God has already called you to in this season. Because if you don't accomplish what He's called you to in this season, you can't move on to the next. There may be things that God wants to use you in with your spouse in ministry. But because you refuse to be used right now, and you benchwarming at the church, then when that spouse comes along, they're not even going to see you because you're not in your space. You're not in the choir. You're not cleaning at the church. You're not ushering. You're not tithing. It could be the head of finance waiting on you to tithe. Waiting to see their name come across the check so they can be like, hallelujah, that's not right.
There you go. Come on, preach that. Good.
I'm just saying. And then when he comes,
When he comes.
don't settle for less than your privilege. When she comes, don't settle for less than your privilege. If you are abstaining and you are keeping yourself, don't let her tell you it's going to be okay because we're about to get married anyway. The devil is a pure demon. Hold yourself. If you've already had it, that much the more. Shut it on down.
That's it. That's right.
Shut it down. You already know what it feels like. Shut it down. Sit on ice. Call your friends and say, pray me through right now. Run around the block, pick up, training for 5Ks. Do whatever you have to do. That's right. Can we just be real?
Yeah. Do what you gotta do.
Because the moment that you cross the line to sin is the moment that you open the door for the enemy to tear apart all that God has preordained for you. And not that the enemy can thwart God's plan, but you. Because God is a gentleman. He's given you free will. He is not going to try to go past what you say you want. So you, lining yourself up with the enemy, can thwart the will of God for your life. Finally, if you're looking at yourself and you only see failure because of past relationships or because of where you are right now, or maybe you're like me and you're like, I got it together. I have degrees. I have fun with my family. I'm nice. You're a nerd. You know, you're just feeling all good. I'm in church. I'm saved. Sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, do speak, you know. Maybe you. But maybe you're still feeling some kind of way. Go and read Psalms 139. And remember that he has already placed a treasure inside of you. When he knit you together and he formed you in your mother's womb, he made you a treasure. You are a treasure that is fearfully and wonderfully made. And man doesn't deserve to just get God's treasure whenever he pleases. So stop handing it out like it's common goods. Hold on to your treasure. Protect your treasure. And become the best you that you can be, so that you can fulfill God's predestined plan for you. Finally, I want to end what I have to say with this. No hope. The next time you feel like God can't use you and there is no hope, just remember this. Because all of us haven't been saved and sanctified all our little lives. Noah was a drunk. Abraham was very old. Isaac was a daydreamer and Jacob was a liar. Leah was ugly and Joseph was abused. Moses stuttered, Gideon was afraid. Samson was a long-haired womanizer, and Rahab, the mother of Boaz, was a former prostitute. Jeremiah and Timothy were too young. David had an affair and was a murderer. Elijah was suicidal and Isaiah preached naked. Jonah ran from God. Naomi was a widow. Job went bankrupt. Peter denied Christ. The disciples fell asleep while praying. Martha worried about everything, and the Samaritan woman was divorced more than once. Zacchaeus was too small, and Paul was too religious. Timothy had an ulcer, and Lazarus was dead. No more excuses. God can use you in your fully developed potential.
Being good, no excuse. That was awesome. Praise the Lord. Awesome.